What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. Now, if you're interested in seeing that Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And as always, I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions on everything that I talk about in this video. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today is two Ravens players that I don't really hear a lot of people talking about, but they're going to be majorly impactful next season. And they're going to be a big reason as to why the Ravens can take it to the next level, possibly get to that Super Bowl. To start off, let's talk about Nick Boyle. Nick Boyle is a player. All Ravens fans know Nick Boyle. He's a tremendous blocker, really solid number 2 tight end. He was the number 3 tight end 2 seasons ago, back in 2019. And he went down with an injury this year. And that hurt the Ravens, I would say, more impactfully than when Ronnie Stanley went down. It may seem kind of ridiculous for me to say that because obviously Ronnie Stanley, premier left tackle, most important position on the offensive line. But Nick Boyle absolutely carries the tight end department in terms of the blocking schemes. Mark Andrews did show that he can block, but what he brings you is nowhere near the level of what Nick Boyle can bring you. Nick Boyle is a phenomenal blocker. And with him being out, the Ravens only had 2 tight ends. I guess they tried to play Luke Wilson one game, and he was atrocious. But they only had 2 tight ends. One of those tight ends was Patrick Ricard. And I like Patrick Ricard. He's a very good fullback. But he can't play tight end. I never want to see him play tight end. He's very bad at it. He can't run routes. His catching is really not that good unless he's about 5 yards away from the quarterback, which, as a fullback totally works. But I mean, I don't want to see him, running out routes, running corner routes, running up the seam. He can't catch the ball in traffic whatsoever. Yes, he can block, he can get on the line, but come on, if you put Patrick Ricard on the line, it's pretty darn obvious that you're going to be running the football because there's no way even Greg Roman would put him on a route from the line of scrimmage. So Nick Boyle, what he brought you was he was able to come in, and it wasn't obvious what the Ravens were going to do. Yeah, they could run. They could run the ball. But they didn't have to. Nick Boyle can catch the football. He is actually a very good pass catcher. Is he a pristine route runner? No. But he can catch the football. And if he's in open space, he can make some plays. We like to see him hurdle and do things like that, even though every time he does it, it makes me afraid. But Nick Boyle, when he went out, it took away that element of surprise that the Ravens could bring you. I mean, Lamar Jackson talked about it in interviews where, defenses are calling out our plays. And when you have, a fullback on the offensive line a significant amount of time because you don't have a second tight end and the fullback can't catch, yeah, you're going to run the ball. It's a lot easier to predict. But with Nick Boyle, you can do a play action pass. He can get open, get in space. And the most important thing is he's got great chemistry with Lamar. Lamar has built chemistry with his tight ends. He doesn't really have it with anybody. Maybe Hollywood. Maybe he has chemistry with Hollywood. But I think his chemistry with the tight ends is just more. There is safety net. The scheme is designed around the tight end. And Nick Boyle being out really hurt that scheme. And that's one of the reasons why the Ravens started to really struggle. They went on that stretch of losing and losing and losing. And that's because they didn't have the ability to, roll out and throw to your tight ends and everything like that. And yeah, Ronnie Stanley, losing him hurt. That left tackle side was not the same whatsoever. But Nick Boyle coming back this year is going to be a major, major impact on this Ravens offense. They're going to be able to surprise teams with the play action. They're going to be able to dominate in the run game. And Patrick Ricard's going to be able to play in his natural position. Well, natural offensive position. I guess his natural position is D tackle. But he'll be able to do that. So Nick Boyle is the first guy that I just had to bring up because nobody's really talking about how big of a piece he is and how much he'll bring to this Ravens team when he comes back. Yeah, we talk about the draft, drafting a tight end, but Nick Boyle is still going to be there. If the Ravens draft a late round tight end, I don't expect them to, get a ton of snaps. He'll be the third tight end, and 3 tight end sets could come in, but Nick Boyle's going to be out there, I don't know, 40, 50% of the time. They run a lot of 2 tight end sets for the Ravens. So Nick Boyle is the first guy that I had to bring up. What are your thoughts on Nick Boyle? Let me down in the comment section below. The next guy is Tavon Young. And I feel like every offseason we say, wow, Tavon's going to be back next year. And he is for a couple of, weeks of practice, or maybe he gets a preseason game in and he gets hurt. And that sucks. I mean, he's making a ton of money, making about $8-9 million a year, and he's hurt every year. However, if he's healthy, he's a premier slot cornerback. And with what the Ravens try to do, if you don't have a premier slot cornerback, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Anthony Averett, but Anthony Averett is not a premier slot cornerback. He struggles. And he's a good player. But in the Ravens scheme, you have to be elite to play in this Ravens secondary. Like, you cannot be good. If you're good, you're going to get burned because the Ravens send heavy pressure, and almost every single snap, you're in a one-on-one situation with a wide receiver playing man coverage. That is a very, very difficult system to run. And it works because on the outside, the Ravens obviously have two, I'll say top 10 cornerbacks in case any non-Ravens fans are in here and they're going to get all mad at me. But Marlon Humphrey, I think is a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. Marcus Peters is top 10, but he's a top 3 playmaker at cornerback. He's probably the best playmaker at cornerback. So you have those guys on the outside. They can lock up, whoever they're going against. The issue is when you're playing in the AFC North, let's look at their slot receivers. You could say Juju's a slot receiver or it's Deontay Johnson. Well, I'll say Deontay Johnson because in the future, Juju probably won't be there. Deontay Johnson is a very good slot wide receiver. He's a very crisp route runner, very difficult to cover. If you're not a great one-on-one player, like truly great, you're going to struggle against Deontay Johnson. Then you look at the Browns, and the Browns have Jarvis Landry or Odell, whoever they want to plug in at slot. They can both play the slot. And those guys are extremely, extremely difficult to cover. We see everybody struggle with it. And a lot of times last year, Marlon had to go in the slot to cover those guys because Anthony Averett could not do it. He could not do it. And without the depth, we saw a lot of times backup cornerbacks getting subbed in and they just get toasted. With Tavon Young, your backup cornerback is Anthony Averett. And Anthony Averett is a good backup, but he's not the one I want out there, in one-on-one coverage pretty much every single snap. Tavon Young's a guy that I'm relatively comfortable having one-on-one every single snap. He's a good playmaker. He's undersized, but he's quick. And he's a guy that coming back will be able to really help. I mean, you look at, the Ravens will have to play, you look at the Bills as a team that they'll have to play. Who do they have in the slot? Oh, Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is a very, very good slot wide receiver. That's tough. Sure, we don't have to go against Julian Edelman in the playoffs, most likely, because, the Patriots aren't good anymore. Thank goodness. But overall, those slot wide receivers, if you aren't elite and you're playing in this Wink Martindale press man system, it's GG's. So I think the national media attention will not talk about the return of Nick Boyle or, the return of Tavon Young. And I really hope that Tavon Young is able to stay healthy the entire season, because if he does, the Ravens do have a legitimate real shot. So those are kind of the two guys that I was thinking. If there's anybody else on the roster, I didn't really bring up Ronnie Stanley because I felt that was, blatantly obvious that getting back your premier left tackle is a big help to your team. But those two guys are not getting a ton of attention. They'll be coming back and they'll be playing almost every single snap. Nick Boyle in all 2 tight end sets, and then Tavon Young, he's going to be the primary slot cornerback. So overall, very excited to see both of those two come back. Let me know down in the comment section down below if there's another player that you think coming back could be really impactful for this Ravens team. But those were kind of my 2 guys. Thank y'all for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe and see more daily Ravens content, hit subscribe button. And I'll see all of you again tomorrow.